Story time! Okay guys, I'm not the type to get sick at all. I get sick like once or twice a year. But because I don't get sick, that one time that I do get sick, it's really bad. So this situation happened when I was 13 and it was February. And because you guys don't know this either, for some reason, ever since I was 10 years old, something bad always happens to me the first 3 weeks of February. So like I said, I was 13 when this happened. I was sick and I remember I got up one morning, got ready for school, and my mom took me. When we got to the school, my mom was like, "Are you sure you want to go?" And I was like, "No, to be honest, I really don't want to go to school." So she was just like, "Okay, well, let me go talk to the front lady because they already called me saying that they were going to send you to court if you miss school again." We went inside and my mom was talking to the front lady and she obviously seen that I was sick. So she told my mom, she was like, "Okay, I'll let Stephanie miss one more day, but after that she can't anymore because she's going to get sent to court." And my mom was like, "Okay, thank you. I'll make sure she doesn't miss school anymore." After that, we left the school and my mom had a few things to do, so she was like, "You're just going to come with me." So our first stop was this healthcare place. We walked into the building and there was a lot of people there, so we got into the line. And as I'm standing there, I got really hot. It literally felt like someone put me in an oven, and then my head started hurting. And then about 3 seconds after that happened, I noticed that I was bleeding from the left side of my nose. So I told my mom I'll be right back. Okay, so I walk into the public restroom. I grab a piece of paper towel and I'm trying to make the bleeding stop. As I'm trying to do that, I see this lady come out of the bathroom stall with her kid. And she looks at me and I look at her, but like I was bleeding, so I didn't say anything. So then after I looked away, I started bleeding from the right side of my nose. So then at this point, both of my nostrils have so much blood coming out of them. It was like someone turned on a faucet. Like that's how bad it was. And the lady looks at me and we had this conversation in Spanish, but I'm gonna say it in English. She was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Obviously, I was not fine. And she was like, "No, you're bleeding a lot." But then after that, I was bleeding so much and using so much paper towel that I ran out. So she puts her kid down and she like starts getting all the paper toilet and she's giving it to me. And she's trying to help me stop the bleeding. So then at this point, I was bleeding so much that I felt kind of weak. So then I sat on the floor and then I coughed and then a bunch of blood started coming out of my mouth along with blood clots. And it doesn't sound that graphic to you guys, but it was actually really, really bad. There was so much blood. I had blood all over my face, all over my boots, all over the floor. It was everywhere and the lady was freaking out. I was freaking out. We didn't know what to do. The bleeding wasn't stopping. So then I hear the door open and it's my mom. And she was smiling when she walked in, but when she saw me, her facial expression changed. Like she was horrified. She bent down and she started crying and she was freaking out. My mom was like, "Stephanie, ¿qué está pasando?" And I wouldn't stop bleeding, so she called 911. So my mom was on the phone crying with 911 and the lady was still there trying to help me stop the bleeding. It was usually like the ambulance, the firemen, the police, they take forever to show up, but this time they showed up pretty quick. So when the firemen arrived, I was still bleeding and they walked into the restroom. And I don't remember exactly how they made me stop bleeding, but they did. I also think I stopped bleeding because I just basically coughed everything out. Like everything that needed to come out already came out through my nose and my mouth. So after the firemen helped me stop bleeding, one of them was like, "Okay, let's get out of here because there's a lot of blood here." And this was the most embarrassing part, at least for me. So there was a lot of people there and when I walked out, everybody looked at me like, what the hell happened to her? I wouldn't care if it was like 3 people looking at me, but everybody in the room was staring and there was like at least 50 people there. And I was just like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Like everybody was looking. But obviously the people who worked there knew what was going on, so they ended up closing off the restroom to clean off all the blood, and then me and the firemen ended up staying in the back room. So then they told me and my mom like they can drive us to the hospital, they can call an ambulance, or we go by ourselves. And my mom was like, "We'll just go on our own." So I arrived to the hospital and they put me in a room and they ended up giving me some pills. I don't know what they were, but they gave me a few and it was supposedly to stop the bleeding. And they ended up telling me and my mom that I was going to stay for a few hours to make sure that the bleeding doesn't come back. So I would have stayed there for who knows how long, but I ended up lying. So the nurses were like checking up on me every now and then. And at one point she came into the room and she was like, "Have you felt any blood clots coming up?" Pues I said, "No, I'm perfectly fine." But I lied because I felt the blood clots trying to come up a few minutes before she even came into the room. So then after that, she believed me and she released us. I never found out what it was, by the way. They were just like, "Here, take these pills." And then my mom found out that I lied, so she got really mad at me. It was stupid for me to lie, but I mean, I was 13. At the time, I was like, I went through a traumatic experience. I just want to go home and go to sleep. Pues after that, I was pale for like 2 or 3 days because I did lose a lot of blood. And as for the lady that helped me, I see her as a little angel to this day because she didn't need to help me. She could have just walked away and be like, "Oh, fuck you." But instead, she stopped what she was doing and she came and helped me. So if you ever see this, thank you.